Chag Ha'atzmaut Sameach to our Israel Brief family. So what did I just say to you? I said to you, Happy Independence Day from all of us here at the Israel Brief and Lay of the Land to you guys out there around the world. Now, if you do hear singing and noise in the background, because it's Independence Day, my neighbors have broken out the karaoke machine and are engaging in what I would loosely call singing. The disclaimer about any noise you hear coming from that side. But it is a day of incredible celebration here in Israel, albeit tinged with a lot of sadness, a lot of more subdued celebrations this year, and really an air of thanksgiving. I think this year, more than any other year in our history, we are so aware of the enormous price that we have paid in order to have this, our 76th year of independence. And what an independence it is. And I think I said this to you guys yesterday, I really think of that very, very famous Hebrew song, Al Kol Ele, of all these things, Hadvash ve'ala oketz, the honey and the sting. And that is the history of Israel, the bitter and the sweet. We are so aware this year that we are missing 132 people, 132 souls still being held hostage by Hamas, and our celebrations are tinged with sadness. A very emotional switch over from yesterday's Memorial Day. And I really want to thank you for your beautiful messages that you sent for yesterday's broadcast. And also remind you that if you do have any questions for me, pop them in the comment section below and I will get to them. And I will get to today's question a little later. But the switchover was very emotional as the cameras crossed to various sites of the massacres of the 7th of October, Sderot, Kibbutz Kfar Aza, Kibbutz Nir Oz, Ofakim, the site of the Nova Festival, one of the Miguniyot, and of course to families of hostages to light memorial torches. And we're so aware of what these families are continuing to endure, and that is the spirit in which we approach this Yom Ha'atzmaut. And then followed by a very, very moving torch lighting ceremony that really highlighted all the ordinary heroes that over the last 7 months have risen to the challenge of supporting this country, of carrying us all through. And I know that every Israeli on the 8th of October, when we woke up, we each had a mission, no matter how much grief we were feeling, and that was to get each other through what was to come. And that is exactly what we have been doing. And yesterday, President Herzog sent a recorded message to all our communities out there. He said that he hoped for the swift return of the hostages and for future peace. And he said this past year has been marked by enormous pain and loss, not just for Israel, but for Jewish communities throughout the world. And he says our deep and sustaining caring for one another shows our connection to the call that we have carried across the ages to do good, to pursue peace, tikkun olam, and to prepare our fractured world. And he urged everybody to really celebrate the 76th year of independence. So we ask you out there to celebrate with us today, but always remember we want the return of our hostages, and we pray for the safety of all of our soldiers. So let's take a look at some of the other top stories making headlines on this day 221 of Israel's war with Hamas. Now, this is a very big story which the media should be leading with, and I do see mainstream media sources are picking this up, and that is the news coming in from the United Nations, and more specifically their Office of Coordination for Humanitarian Affairs, or OCHA. They have effectively halved by 50% the number of women and children civilian casualties in the Gaza Strip. This is very important information because we have countries like South Africa, backed by Turkey and possibly Egypt, accusing Israel of genocide. We have seen campus encampments pop up. Thousands take to the streets of capitals around the world. We see Jews shut out of everyday society because we are accused of committing genocide. And I want to be clear, every civilian death is a tragedy. War is brutal, war is horrific, and this is a war that none of us asked for, not the Palestinian civilians and certainly not Israel. But we are not committing a genocide. OCHA have said that they are cutting the figure of 14,500 children to 7,797 and 9,500 women to 4,959 women. And they say it has been the fog of war, the challenges gathering accurate data and relying too much on the Hamas-controlled Ministry of Health for civilian casualty numbers. But the damage has been done. World leaders, media personalities, celebrities, humanitarian organizations, various groups throughout the world have picked up on the Hamas numbers without checking, quoted them verbatim, and what we are seeing is this massive rise in anti-Semitism and attacks on the sovereignty and the legitimacy of the state of Israel. So I ask you out there, please, to spread this information, and when you do see these inaccuracies pop up, to really challenge them. The war that we fight is not just on the battlefield, it's not just in the court of public opinion, it is also the war of misinformation, and that also goes for WhatsApp group and media sources from our side as well, who are pushing certain agendas because they don't like certain world leaders or foreign policy decisions. Make sure your news is verified, make sure whoever presents it to you, brings it to you, traffics in facts and not misinformation. While we are on the subject of genocide, the National Security Advisor in the United States, Jake Sullivan, has said that Israel is not committing genocide. He says that Israel's military operations in the Gaza Strip do not meet the criteria or the definitions of genocide. And while he did acknowledge Palestinian suffering, and we do acknowledge Palestinian suffering, this is why Israel is flooding the Gaza Strip with humanitarian aid. We want a better situation on the ground for Palestinian civilians, but we are not committing genocide. Prime Minister Netanyahu sat down for Dan Senior's excellent podcast. You really should take a listen to it. It's called Call Me Back. He interviews some really important people, including the Prime Minister. And Netanyahu said that in Israel's estimate, about 14,000 Hamas combatants or terrorists have been killed by our forces, and about 16,000 civilian casualties, which roughly gives you a combatant to civilian ratio of 1:1, which is the lowest in the history of warfare. The Prime Minister also said that those who say they support Israel's right to defend herself, but also condemn our military campaign inside the Gaza Strip, contradict themselves, which of course they do. I don't think any other country in the world has to face the challenges and the situation that we do here, and there is a lot of criticism, but nobody seems to offer us a good solution to how we deal with these challenges. And finally, we have to talk Eurovision, because a 20-year-old girl, Eden Golan, with her spectacular voice, showed the world what it is like to conduct yourself with incredible class, incredible dignity, and grace in the field of an absolute tsunami of hatred. The Eurovision, which is allegedly a song contest, it became an absolute free-for-all this year, descended into chaos when Israel's astoundingly talented Eden Golan, with her beautiful song Hurricane, was allowed to compete. She was bullied. She was treated horrifically by fellow contestants, including the Irish contestant, 31-year-old Bambi Thug. Yes, living up to the name of Thug, or certainly the Thug part of her name, who is still whining that Israel happened to beat her. Bullied Eden. She stood and performed in a concert hall where people booed her, where thousands, including Greta Thunberg, the weather potato, outside her hotel, calling and accusing her of committing genocide. A 20-year-old woman. And she took to that stage, she saw their hatred, she raised them a hurricane and came fifth in the competition. The winner was from Switzerland. But where Eden really won is she won the public vote. Britain overwhelmingly, thank you, United Kingdom, voted overwhelmingly in favor of Eden, and even the Irish. The Irish voted her their second favorite, only to Croatia. I guess Bambi Thug didn't make the top cut as it is. Must be quite something when your own people see you for the thug that you are. But Eden got the public vote, which tells me something very, very important. We may see the hatred on the streets. We may see it on social media and on campuses. But the silent majority spoke, and they spoke for Israel, which means our support is greater than we think. However, the Norwegian judge has admitted that he couldn't keep out biases and that it influenced his judgment. He said he confesses to an inability to remain impartial. And that is just horrific, because you should be judged on your talent and the song and not on somebody's political issues. However, once again, a huge thank you to the United Kingdom, who gave their 12 points to Israel. What a way to celebrate Yom Ha'atzmaut. And if you want to read more about Israel, don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our Facebook community is growing. We love you guys. Thank you for following us. We're at Lottel's site. Click on that like, click on the follow, share. You guys know what to do. We are on Twitter. Our channel is at The Israel Brief. Click on that red subscribe button below. And of course, we're on X at Lay of the Land 5. I'm Rolene Marks. This is The Israel Brief. Guys, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Once again, Chag Ha'atzmaut Sameach. Happy Independence Day. I can smell the barbecue all around. I'm going to go have me a steak and a glass of wine to celebrate. And I will be back tomorrow with your top stories. Bye for now. God bless.